Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday morning or afternoon now, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. What a show we have lined up for you guys today. What is the deal with that AP voter not putting USF in the top 25? We'll get into that right at the top of the program. Don't you worry. USF footballing legend Sam Barrington is going to join us at 12:30. You hear him on the radio side there with our guy Jim Lau calling all the games. He was jacked up for that victory over Boise State and, of course, the one over the Florida Gators. TJ Reeves joins us at 1 o'clock, Buccaneers sideline reporter. I'm also going to give you my top 10 standouts in the NFL from week 1. We're talking players. We're talking coaches. We are talking, I was going to do teams, so just do players and coaches this week. Not the 10 best, but the 10 standouts. Some of them are good. Most of them are good, but some of them not so good. So if you're standing out to me, not always a positive, but that is the way we roll. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. I'm in Instagram too. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Our guy, Jeff Taylor, best show in the Bay, baby. You are the man, Jeff. I appreciate you so much. And I got a meeting today with the t-shirts, pal. So we are getting closer. Benny's number 1 today. Dolan number 2. McCarthy had a rocky start, but ended up being really good. I'm going to talk about that at 1:30 today. DT, he's 3rd. Jay Bird in the house. Dolan doesn't like Caleb Williams. Some throws he makes, I can see the potential. Chicago has a long way to go. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams at all. Some of the throws that young man makes, it reminds me of Daniel Jones. It does not, I don't look at that guy and think, wow, he's a standout to me. I didn't see that from Cam Ward in his first start. Didn't really see that with JJ McCarthy. It's year 2 for Caleb Williams, and it's supposed to be easier under Ben Johnson. You're at home last night. I'm not one of those people that are just kind of judging Caleb Williams on what paints his fingernails or any of that shit. I don't care about that. I don't care about crying in the stands. Like, whatever. Go out there and perform on the football field. I mean, we've seen people that are just different type of dudes be successful. I don't see it with Caleb Williams. He's got a lot of like Jameis Winston in him, where it's just he makes a throw sometimes. You're like, what the hell was that? You got to be consistent. You got to be accurate. You got to make good decisions. I just don't see that from Caleb Williams. As always, we're showing love to our guy, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. Scan that QR code right there. Give him a shout. He's a Tampa Bay sports fan just like you. Hammer is the man. We got a bunch of people watching right now, including our pal Nathan Elliott. He's there. He's saying hello to me. He's saying hello to you. He's saying hello to all the degenerates out there. A bunch of people watching right now. If you're watching, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, hit that like button. Share this. Retweet it. Get it out there into the universe and go from there, my friends. Boom, boom, boom. Let's spread the word right here on the Recher podcast. You are the man, Hammer, and Nathan, and everybody that tune into this podcast. A great chat with our pal Ian Beckles yesterday. We will have the Beckles and Recher podcast tomorrow at around 3 o'clock over at the Dignitary Cafe. So you definitely don't want to miss that one, because we get into the all the minutia, get all the hot topics of conversation here at the cafe. We'll talk a lot more about kind of Ryan Clark and his whole thing back and forth. Again, I didn't want to get into it yesterday, but the Ryan Clark thing with Peter Schrager on ESPN, we'll talk about that, because one of the things I really love when I'm chatting with Ian is the player and the non-player perspective. And I feel like we do a good job of having those difficult conversations, and we're going to continue to do so. Really, really good stuff there. And a shout out going down to Costa Rica for our buddy, Greg DeCruz. Okay, so one of the big topics of conversation here in the last couple of weeks, not the last couple of weeks, the last couple of days, excuse me, was the AP voters that did not have USF in the top 25. And whether you didn't think Boise State or Florida were as good as their rankings, I mean, they were ranked there. So you can't just conveniently not use those rankings when those teams lose. I mean, there's a reason they were ranked in the first place. And if you have those rankings and you do preseason rankings, they have to mean something. They can't just be like, oh, well, they only mean certain things. So it meant something for Florida State and Alabama, that matchup. It meant something for LSU and Clemson. It meant something for Michigan and Oklahoma in week 2. But it doesn't mean anything now when USF beats Boise State and Florida. That's hogwash. That's just not true. It's just not. You can't pick and choose. You can't move the goalpost whenever it's convenient for your argument. It's got to be straight across the board. Now, one of the voters for the AP Top 25 is a young lady by the name of Haley Sawyer. USC Sports for the SoCal News Group. She's an adjunct professor for the College of the Canyons, and she has a vote for the AP Top 25 poll. Now, what I don't want to do is I don't want to sit here and pile on this young lady and start taking personal digs and personal attacks at her. I don't care how she speaks. I don't care how she looks. None of that. I'm not going to insult her intelligence. That is not what we're going to do here on the show. With that being said, if you have a vote and it is public, then you open yourself up for criticism for a lack of professionalism or a lack of knowledge in the job that you are tasked to do. So I think it is fair to question her motives. I think it's fair to question whether she takes this serious or not, but I'm not going to sit here and bash her for anything personal. We're going to keep this on the up and up, and I expect all of you to do the same. I'm going to play the video because she was on a podcast out there in out there in California, excuse me. And because, again, I reached out to her yesterday. I'll read it to you. Haley, Jay Recher from here in Tampa. I just wanted to ask for your thoughts on why USF isn't in your top 25. I'm not here to bash you or pile on. I actually love differing viewpoints. And if there's something we're not seeing in Tampa, I like presenting that for a counter argument so we can hear from all different point of views. Thanks. I feel like it's a fair thing to say, right? So nothing, no response. She doesn't respond to people hitting her up on Twitter. And then she goes on a podcast with USCHoops.com. And he asks her directly why USF didn't make your top 25. And the gentleman, even himself, was having an issue of like, oh, I thought USF lost to Florida. Like, you could tell he wasn't. It was just kind of a weird thing. He was like, oh, I thought USF lost. I'm like, no, I don't know. I just feigning like it's cool to not know things is such a weird kind of route to take, especially when you're trying to have a podcast and you're trying to, you gain credibility and act like you're a connoisseur of a certain topic. Like, to act like, oh, it's funny that you don't know one of the biggest upsets and one of the biggest games the entire weekend. Like, there wasn't that many. It wasn't week 1. Right? It wasn't one of those things where it was, hey, there was 17 ranked matchups, and that was one kind of just meant more to us because it was local. No, it was one of the biggest stories of the entire weekend. They had the hardest schedule in the first 3 weeks. You beat number 25 at home. You smacked Boise State. Then you go into Gainesville, into the Swamp, and beat the Gators. It's one of the biggest stories. Regardless, this is not hometown bias. This is one of the biggest stories. Forget about college football and all sports. Is what South Florida is doing. And the fact that this young lady is pretty flippant in the importance of her voting, I think rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I implore you, turn your volume all the way up, because sometimes when we play these videos, they're not that loud. Turn that volume all the way up. I'm going to mute my microphone, and I want you to hear her response when she was asked from USCHoops.com about USF and what they have to do to get into her top 25. And we'll discuss, and I want to hear from you. I'll give out the link here in a bit, but it's just, it kind of rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And I don't think, I think you do have a leg to stand on if this upsets you. Check it out.
I have to say one of the the complaints had to do with South Florida. And I kept thinking, why does anybody care? South Florida lost to Florida. And I didn't, I had the game on in my house and I didn't watch the end of the game, didn't realize they had lost. So I felt a little bit like an idiot too. Just sometimes I can't focus on who's done what. But I'm sure people would love to know. I'm sure you can't answer this question for USC, but in general, what would be something you were looking for to you're a fan of some team? What can that team do to get into your top 25?
Oh, that's a great question. What can they do to get in my top 25? I think we take into account the week to week performances for a team, but also take into account like the overall season so far, what kind of culture that team has too. And there's also, there's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and like, it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, like, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it.
Really? Really? For all of the women that bust their ass in sports, for all the women out there that have to deal with people that denigrate them because of them being women, and they bust their ass and they make sure that they rise above all the undue hate that they get just because of their gender. This lady comes in here and it's like not a big deal. Not a big deal. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I just, when you sit there and you're going to say, well, we're focused on, of course, the week to week, but also the season as a whole and the culture. Hello? There's only been 2 weeks this season. So, of course, the week to week in the season are going to be pretty freaking similar. And you look at the culture set forth by Alex Golish, it's one of the best cultures in the country right now. USF a couple of years ago were one of the biggest laughing stocks in all of sports under Coach Jeff Scott. And here comes Alex Golish, back-to-back victories in the bowl games. A team going into the 2025 season with the most difficult start to the season, going up against Boise State, going up against Florida, going up against Miami, 3 ranked teams in the top 25. There were people out there that thought that they would be lucky if they won one of those games, let alone 2. 3 isn't even a discussion for the majority of the people that cover and follow college football closely. Not even a discussion. And they're 2-0. What more do they have to do week to week? What more did they have to do this entire season? What more do they have to do to show you that this ain't the same old South Florida? And to kind of laugh it off like it's no big deal. Tons of people vote. It's not perfect. It does even out. It's really fun for discussion. Really? That's the kind of attitude, the laissez-faire type of attitude that you're going to take with something like this? It does mean something. It means something when you're trying to grow a program. It does mean something when those votes matter. Those votes matter. We still talk about how high USF got all those years ago, beating West Virginia when they were the 5th seed and USF was the 18th seed. Sound familiar? And they got up to number 2 in the country. We're still hanging on to that damn thing 20 years later. The excitement for USF football was never as big as it was then until now. Those AP votes matter. If they didn't matter, why do we do it? Why is there so much importance placed on these votes if they don't matter? If that is the type of attitude for your voters, why even have the poll at all? And I tell you what, as bad as she may have looked in that video, the gentleman that was interviewing her looked 10 times worse. Again, you're interviewing somebody that has an AP vote. Not only do you get the result wrong, but then you start acting like, it's no big deal. Why are people upset? Oh, the ratings. What? You may be in La La Land out there in Tinseltown, where you show up to games in the second quarter and leave in the third quarter, but that's not reality for the rest of the world. Talking about USC and Lincoln Riley. Do me a favor. Put Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans on the same field as Alex Golish and the USF Bulls, and I guarantee you Byron Brown will run over every single defender from Southern California. I don't give a crap. South, Southern, who gives a shit? USF is winning that ball game. They're better coached. They're more prepared. The culture's better. This ain't the same old South Florida. Well, it ain't the same old USC either. You think it's all laughing, ha, 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 ha. Not a big deal. What an absolute joke. Again, we're not getting personal here. I'm not talking about anything. We're not going to get into a situation, or not talking anything about her gender, about, women shouldn't have a vote. I'm never going there. Ever. But again, for all the women that combat those type of notions and this good old boy type of society that we have in sports, where women constantly have to climb that mountain and prove that they're more than just a pretty face, things like that don't help. It's one thing if you hop on this podcast or you answer somebody's message and goes and you say, hey, USF is still in the American. I wasn't that high on Boise State. They were the 25th ranked team. They could have very easily been on the outside. I wasn't too impressed with Billy Napier in Florida, and I think USF is a good team, but I don't think they're in the top 25. Listen, I would disagree, but at least your opinion would have some kind of merit. You would have some kind of backing of like, all right, well, hey, I can at least see where you're coming from. Agree to disagree. But to just kind of laugh it off and act like it's no big deal. I can tell you firsthand how important it is to a lot of my friends and colleagues in this industry, how important it is to have a vote for a poll, or have a vote for a postseason award. They take it so seriously. I've had friends come up to me and go, this is my top 5 for this. What do you think? Not that they would change it, but just they want to make sure that they get it right. And this is in all of the sports. They don't take it lightly. And now you have somebody out there on the West Coast who is sitting there just laughing like, hey, tons of people vote. We're not perfect. Why have a poll if the goal is not to get it right? It does even itself out. It's really fun for discussion. Yeah, you may think that, but you know what the kind of people that say that? People that don't care. People that don't care about their actions having repercussions. People that don't care that seriously affects teams. Those rankings mean a lot to a team like USF. Trying to elbow their way into the big table. Trying to get into a big-time conference. Those rankings mean a lot to recruits. It means a lot to where your bowl games and finances and growing this entire program. And to have somebody who has the weight of an AP vote. I remember the AP polls coming out like my entire life and how important that is. And just the people that voted. And just thinking that, man, that's a heavy responsibility in the sports world. And for somebody to just kind of laugh it off like it's no big deal. It's bullshit, for lack of a better term. It really is. Pun 1000% intended. It's bullshit. You can't act like that. There's certain ways that you can act in sports media. And I was going to talk about the Rays. We're not talking about the Rays until Sam Barrington joins us at 12:30. We're talking about this. I'm sorry. There's certain things you can be a little bit more kind of laid back about, and it's not that big of a deal. I had this conversation yesterday with Josh Pate about Josh Pate and his college football, the JP poll, when it's more of like, it's not a ranking system. It's a poll. He likes to have fun. He likes to go back and forth. He's very transparent about that. He's not going out there and saying, these are the best 20 teams. He has a team that's number one, neutral field. He explains it all. But again, people aren't looking at his poll and ranking the teams and going, and that makes a big difference. He's having fun with it. There's something to be said about tact. There's something to be said about reading the room and understanding your responsibilities. And you get into a situation like this, where this young lady goes on this podcast and she's answering these questions. How, if you're a person that is in charge of handing out these handing out the ability to have these votes, how are you one of these people? How are you one of those people that are in charge and going, yep, that's the kind of person I want representing us? This is a bad look. This isn't a bad look because of the response from USF and Bulls Nation. No. This is a bad look for her, the people that she works for, and for the Associated Press. This isn't one of those things where like, hey, any publicity is good publicity. No, it's not. It makes people look at your poll like it's a joke and it's a popularity contest. And you have somebody in the other coast that doesn't even give a crap to talk about a game that was on at 1 o'clock their time, 4 o'clock our time, and one of the best games of the weekend. And the repercussions, that's the thing. This isn't a game that just came out of nowhere. A lot of people going into the season were talking about the difficult schedule for USF. Maybe I'll change the word a lot to a good number of people. More people started talking about USF after they played on Thursday night. They were the first game in week 1. All eyes on ESPN, and they beat the dog crap out of Boise State, the number 25 team in the country. So then the Rabbit Ears went up. More and more people looking at the Bulls and Alex Golesh. So when you go into week 2, and we had this conversation on Friday, when you go into week 2 and you're looking at all the matchups, and it's like, all right, you got Missouri, Kansas. You got the ranked matchup between Oklahoma and Michigan. But that game, whether you're in the Sunshine State or not, whether you're from Tampa, Gainesville, or anywhere in between, if you're a college football fan, you're like, that's a good one. Let's keep an eye on that one. And what happens? USF wins. So if it's your job to study college football as a whole, not just studying USC, isn't that one of the games that would make your ears perk up? Isn't that one of the games where even if you didn't watch it, you'd say, let me check that box score out. Let me read the recap of that game. Hell, why don't I do a little more of investigative research? Go on YouTube and watch highlights of the game. Then you would find out what happened. You would see the interception by Chenal. You would see the big catch for the touchdown by Keyshawn Singleton. You would see the game-winning field goal from Nico Gramatica. You would understand what Byron Brown was able to do, what Vaughn was able to do. But no, it just gets laughed off like it's no big deal. We have to hold these people in sports media to a higher standard. We have to. That happens a lot in politics. It needs to be better in sports. And again, if you're one of those people that are going to attack her personally and about her gender, that's going to fall on deaf ears with me. If you want to call on the AP to revoke her vote, that's not personal, that's professional. If you want to highlight her flippant attitude towards the process, that's completely fine. Again, I go back to especially hockey because I'm so close to those guys and gals, and just listening over the years to how important it is for Eric Erlinson to have votes, and Ed Encina to have those votes, and Deandra Lou, our good friend from the Hockey News, and how important it is for her to be able to vote. People voting for the MVP and for the Hall of Fame. Rob Motti, our guy from AP. Holy smokes, we got to get him on. And Rob saying, yeah, I got a Baseball Hall of Fame vote. Mark Topkin and all the things that he votes for. Every single person I've spoken to that have that responsibility, they take it so seriously. And this young lady, it's just like a walk in the park. If my rankings are right, great. If they're not, so be it. Who cares? I'm living in sunny California. Not good, dude. Not good. Greg Cruz, the votes are important. Right. G. Conrad, that culture line was weak on her part. She is clearly judging on a P4, G5 basis. I guess. Doesn't make it right. Tell me you don't know jack shit about USF without saying you don't know jack shit about USF. Because you could say a lot of things about USF. You could say a lot of things about our South Florida Bulls football team. You know one thing that you can't say in the last 30 months or so? That it isn't a culture that is thriving, that is growing. You have a indoor practice facility now. You have a on-campus stadium that is in the process of being built. You have a quarterback in Byron Brown doing his thing. He's got to be on the Heisman Trophy watch list now. You have Alex Golish, people talking about some of the things I didn't want to talk about with, where could he be going next? What big job? Could he be the coach at Florida? Could he be a coach at one of these other big schools? That doesn't happen if the culture isn't right. And it's not just football. Women's basketball and men's basketball and lacrosse and baseball and softball and track and co-ed cheer. Go look at the records of those teams. You don't think that the culture is bubbling up to the surface here and about to explode? Wait till USF gets into one of these big conferences. Game changer. USF isn't going to go into a Big 12 or a Big 10 or an ACC and be the doormat like those people down on I-4. This is Tampa. You may come here to visit. You're going to come here to live. This ain't no tourist trap. This is one of the best cities in the entire world and growing by the day with 3 professional sports teams. Greg also says, but it wasn't just not ranking USF. She ranked Florida 2 spots higher. There's no justification in that. Carlos Becerra, just terrible, giving all the hardworking women in sports a bad name. Whether we agree or disagree with that, Carlos, you're right. You're right. Because there are people that already feel that way. It's not fair, but it's reality. Lady Evil, 100% agree. Maybe if we somehow beat Miami this week and we'll be an eye. Who knows? And then it's just like, oh, yeah, you have him in there now. That's not the point. Not the point. Greg says, I hope Golish replaces his team before the Miami game. Yeah, maybe. But I don't think they care, nor should they. Block out that outside noise. Focus on what you can control. Total disrespect is right, Greg. You have to be better. You have to be better. When you are tasked with a certain responsibility, you need to be better. Somebody just said on Twitter, this is so bad on so many levels. It is. It is. Wiz, if you want to rank them 25, fine, but not having USF ranked is just a crime against humanity, and we must take legal action. That's probably a little bit far, my friends. But think about it like this. It's Tuesday, September 9th. We're on our way to week 3 of the college football season. And you know what we're talking about? We're talking about our USF Bulls getting shafted from being outside the top 25 on one person's ballot. So when you put things into perspective, I mean, they're there. Number 18. And again, the last time they were an 18 seed going up against a 5 seed, they had the biggest win in school history. That win over West Virginia that vaulted them up to number 2 in the country. I think that was the number 1 win in USF history. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. That was a big win against Florida, but it only got them to 18. You played West Virginia, the number 5 team in the country, and beat them and went up to number 2. Now, last time they got into a position like that, that was the number 1 victory in school history. But after this weekend, it could be number 2. Because if they go into Miami and they beat the Hurricanes, that's the biggest win in school history. No doubt in my mind. And if you're a betting man or a betting woman, or you're not, I'm not betting against the Bulls. That's for sure. All right, the great Sam Barrington will join us here momentarily. I want to make sure that he's got the my good friend. Let's go. My good friend Carly, who's one of the Bulls social media admins. She said, "How about the Bulls?" Got that right. And how about that? How about that? Is Carly and all the people that one thing that we've said about USF here in the last couple of years is that the social media teams for USF, like the whole crew, they do a fantastic job. They really do. And Carly and the entire crew over there, the pictures, the memes, just the captions, the way that they're always in the right spot, they're accessible. They are just, they work so well together. And when you have moments like, think about this, guys. When you have big moments for your sports team, right? Whether it's professionally or collegiately, you want to make sure that every single one of those moments gets captured and disseminated on social media. And that helps grow the program. And they have been spot on. They have been all over it. The filming the game on the Nintendo DS, I'm seeing that everywhere. Carly's reaction to when USF beat Florida and she had to like hold it, that was hilarious. I'm dying laughing. The USF social team, they are killing it. And it's not just, and I talked to my buddy Connor about this, and just how there's such a great communication with that group. They do everything they can to show as much love to all the teams under the South Florida banner. It's not just football, basketball and baseball and softball and just all the different lacrosse and soccer and track and tennis. They're all over the place. We're so grateful. We talk about, and I say this all the time, it's not always the players and the teams and the events, but just the people that cover our teams, the people that work for our teams. Callie and Carly, and it's just everybody involved. It's amazing. It truly is amazing. They're top-notch people, and the work that they've been putting out. To see the interview on the sideline with Kaylee Cottrell and Mac Harris, and the hug and the embrace, and her saying, "I'm so proud of you guys." Like, dude, that's what it's about. As much as we love sports and we love our teams, like, it's about who we're sharing those messages. Sharing those experiences with. And it's like, it keeps getting better and better and better. And it doesn't slow down. All the SIDs dealing with, Jessica and Micah and Brian Segrist and Chad and just the whole crew, man. I can't say enough things. I don't want to leave anybody out, but if I keep naming names, I know I'm going to leave somebody out. But just the entire crew over there at USF, I can't say enough nice things about them. And they're capturing the moment about as good as anybody can. And it is a wonderful time to be supporting our USF Bulls. It just doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't. And now you're going into Miami and you're about to take on the Hurricanes. And sky's the limit, baby. I'm not betting against the Bulls. Foolish money if you're betting against the Bulls, that is for sure. Let's bring in our guy, Sam Barrington. Sam, you with me?
I'm here, Jay. What's going on, man?
You got, buddy. We got a video of your pretty face today, or are we just doing audio?
I'll jump on video.
Yeah. He's a stud, baby. He's a stud. He's all over the place. If he's not, traveling the world, if he's not there, if he's not in Africa somewhere, if he's not on Family Feud with the rest of the NFL alumni, he's there. I think it's a crime that he's on radio. But because we can't see his beautiful face, but he does a great job with our pal Jim Lauk. Listen, I'm watching this interview with Lou Murphy from last week, and I watched it. I watched it beforehand, and then I watched it after, and then I said, "Who looks like the smartest guy in that room?" Our guy Sam Barrington. Sam, I was chatting with Matt Grothe Saturday night, and just there is such a pride among the USF alumni right now. And man, you and I have been there, brother. Some tough times, some tough losses where we had to paint a picture where, hey, maybe it's not as bad as we thought. But just what does it feel like to be able to see this group achieve what they've been able to do through 2 weeks?
It's one of those things where I am still working to put it in words. And I'll tell you, Jay, I think the experience is different for everybody. Everybody has a different relationship with USF. Why it's important to Matt Grothe, sure, we both share it in common because both of us are alum. Both of us experienced highs at USF, and we've been patiently waiting for those highs to return as we transition to alum who are also fans. I think for me, it's a unique experience because I've never been fanned out about a football team. My relationship with football started when I was 6 years old because that was the day I started playing football. And it briefly ended when I was 28 years old because that's when I finished in the NFL. And then here comes USF. Sam, we got an opportunity for you. We want you to call games at USF. So employed, spectator, but how do I not become a fan? So the experience where it's like your whole world is brightened by the fact that your team is the only team in football I care about other than my high school. I don't have any allegiance to any professional teams. This is the only football team I care about other than my high school. But for my entire world to be impacted by the fact that they're playing good football, that's what it feels like for me. It's like, that's the selfish component. But then you also think about guys like Mac Harris, right, who's been at USF since he was a freshman, who experienced what happened under Jeff Scott, who bought into Coach Golish, who also waited his turn. A year ago at the start of last season, Mac Harris wasn't a thing because you saw DJ Gordon. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, it was the year before, right? At the start, it was DJ Gordon. It was, the Antonio Greers were transitioning, and you had Mac Harris wasn't a thing, right? So many players come into college thinking that they need to make an immediate impact. But here we look at a guy, Mac Harris, who's waited his turn and who's playing damn good football right now. So when I think about guys like that and what their experience is like and what this means to them, it sweetens it for me. You look at Byron Brown's story, who his freshman year, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, Byron Brown was number 3 on the depth chart.
Yeah, he was. We didn't even expect to see him that year.
He was number 3 behind guys who at the time were, you had Timmy McClain.
Right, yep.
Who eventually fizzed out. You had Jordan McLeod, who's on school number 4 or 5 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Both good players in their own right. But again, another guy who waited his turn. So it's just a special thing, man, and I'm happy for Coach Golish. When he got hired, I don't know if anybody even knew who he was on the grants. Even me included, I was like, we hired who? You know what I mean? And so for I'm just so happy for the program. I'm happy for the staff. I'm happy for the fans. The big picture is like, yeah, this is all happy. But when I really look at it, USF has won 2 non-conference games against 2 ranked opponents. It's great, but unfortunately with football, it's like we got to focus on the next game. You got UM, and we got to go win that game. else you only been ranked for a week, because that'll probably knock us out of our rankings. Maybe it'll drop us down a few slots, but we still got to go out and we got to dominate the conference, and we got to keep this thing consistent. And that's what becomes more prevalent in my mind as someone who understands football.
Was that the biggest win in program history, the win over the Gators in the Swamp, or do you still go back to that West Virginia game that vaunted them up to number 2? What do you think?
It's the West Virginia game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's the West Virginia game for a few reasons. I think that was 18 years ago.
Damn. Jeez.
So for the program to do that 18 years ago, I think the program was 11 years old at the time that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I got to USF in 2013. I'm 2009. USF was 13 years old at the time. If my math serves me correctly, that was the bigger win, because what it meant for USF at that time, in terms of USF was still in infancy when you measure it against some of these programs who've been around over 100 years.
Right.
And then it pushed them into the number 2 spot. Even when USF goes out and beats UM, it's not going to push you to number 2. Might get you to 6, 7, 8.
Well, I don't know. They're number 5 right now. So so the last time that USF was an 18 seed going against a number 5 seed was the West Virginia game. So if they win this game, I mean, that's, and I think that's the hard part. And before you hopped on, I played the video of the young lady who was one of the AP voters that didn't even have USF in the top 25. And she was kind of like flipping about it, like, oh, it's not a big deal. And everybody's like, yeah, it is a big deal. And I mean, I think the USF gets treated unfairly, because if they win this game against Miami, there's still going to be people out there that are going to say, oh, well, maybe just Miami wasn't as good as we thought, rather than looking at USF going, you just beat 3 top 25 teams in the first 3 weeks. It is not arguable that they had the toughest schedule going into the regular season. Anybody that covers college football was saying the same thing. And I just think it's kind of the bad thing, right, about playing in the American and people just going to look down outside of the Power 4 conferences. But they just got to take care of business and do what they do. Right, Sam?
Take care of business. Do what you do. Listen, even if you go and beat UM, it's good for rankings, but you got to win a conference championship.
Right.
So this season is full of possibilities in terms of things that have never been done before. The opportunity to go undefeated is still out there. Conference championship opportunity is still out there. USF, to my recollection, has never beaten 2 top 25 opponents in one season.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got an opportunity to beat 3. So the season is full of things that have never been done before, right? And when I look at the entire situation, I care more about a top 20, a conference championship than I do about the top 25 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can get all things done this season, that's great. For anybody to say, hey, USF just beat 2, let me just say this. USF football is the hottest thing in college football right now. It doesn't get any bigger than that. The biggest game in college football, the biggest storyline in college football this weekend will be USF versus UM. There's a lot of history there. Heck, when I was at USF, when we played UM, we got the head coach fired. Randy Shannon got fired after the game. So there's so many things weighing on this game. If anybody steps forward and says this is not the biggest game in college football this Saturday, sadly mistaken. In fact, they shouldn't even talk about football anymore. Let them go hang with Louis Murphy.
Oh,
let them go hang with Louis Murphy. And actually, I'm gonna be hanging with Louis Murphy that night. I mean, I don't bet on college sports. I might throw a little $10 parlay in on 30 picks and see what happens. See if I can change my family's life, right? But no, seriously, I bet this guy that he has to take me to Ocean Prime. And so I'm currently fasting right now to make room in my stomach, so when he takes me to Ocean Prime, I can eat like I've never eaten before.
Louis Murphy, our guy here, former Buccaneer, former Gator great. He's hilarious. What a great dude too. And when I saw that, and then USF won, I was like, oh man, here we go. Yeah. Sam is gonna cash in on that one, baby. What is it about the linebacker position that really sets the tone for USF defenses when they are at their peak? I mean, you and I, we covered a bunch of games where it was like USF really was devoid of a lot of talent, and Antonio Greer and Dwayne Boyles, a lot of times it was just them two dudes, 10 tackles each a game. Great to see Antonio Greer with the Buccaneers doing some things, but you mentioned Matt Harris and Jalen Schuler. I mean, those two guys, they're like the two tag team champions of the world out there, sideline to sideline. What kind of impact do you see from those guys? You mentioned Matt kind of waiting his turn, but what makes those two guys so special for this Bulls defense?
Yeah. The list could go on and on because the linebacker position is my position, and I could sit here and I could just ramble on and on. I want to point out a few things. I think tenure, right? When you got two guys who have grown up with each other, who've become men with each other, who've waited their turn, who've played under the same defensive coordinator for 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one thing that also hasn't happened a lot at USF.
Right.
Where you look at Stephen Nicholas and you look at Ben Moffitt and you look at Tyrone McKenzie and you look at so many of those guys, Keon Wilson, those guys played for Wally Burnham. And so there was a system, there was an identity, there was a culture that had started to become identified, right? And so you got Matt Harris and Jalen Schuler. They've played for Todd Orlando. This is their third season. Everybody wanted to get rid of Todd Orlando in year one. Nobody believed in him, but his linebackers did, and they became coachable. They took to his system. So now they've done the same thing for 3 consecutive years. Eventually, you start to understand this scheme a little bit better than the coach does because he's teaching it, you're playing it, and now you're teaching it to the young guys also. I think tenure is big, and I think the continuity with Coach Todd Orlando, who's done a hell of a job. I mean, I just love that guy and the things that he's been able to do in this program and turn things around, make USF defense relevant again. But also, I want to talk about the type of players they are.
Right.
Mac Harris is a plugger. He's the guy who's going to stop the run in the middle. He's a knockback tackler. He has great leverage. He tackles very well. He's very strong at a point of attack. Jalen Schuler is more of the sideline guy, has more length than Mac Harris, can cover pretty well, and you see him making those long-range tackles on the outside. Jalen Schuler blitzes very well on the outside. Mac Harris blitzes very well up the middle. And I think the third component, if I got to be honest, them just some badass dudes, man.
Yeah.
I don't need to sit here and get into all this football science. Them boys know how to play football.
Did you notice that in week one? I mean, because you and I, we've watched so much USF football over the years, Sam, whether together or separate. There was something in that, and as much as everybody looks at Byram in that week one, and of course we know how great he is, but that defense was flying around. They were coming off the field on third down. We just haven't listen, it's been tough. It's been a tough road to hoe with these guys. But man, they were just in that game against Boise State. It was just like, we're the baddest dudes on the field. We don't care what the offense looks. And they were doing the same thing in Gainesville. There was a little bit more of a bend but don't break thing. But when they got in the red zone, it was like, no, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to back down. Did you know, like, how early did you notice that? If you did, I'm sure you did, in week one against Boise State.
I saw it last year between those two guys.
Nice.
And in fact, I went up to Jalen. I was like, man, you only got a few more games left. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm playing again. And I was like, whoa, hold on. You got another year? You know what I mean? But seriously, I saw it last year, and, I can see the deficiencies in a guy's game. And then for them to both come back this year and all the deficiencies that I thought I saw last year, for them to have those deficiencies corrected this year, I mean, it's a testament to not only Coach Todd Orlando, the strength and conditioning staff, but the players themselves. You know what I mean? And when you have one guy in the middle who's doing a great job, good things happen around that defense. When you got two guys in the middle who are not playing, and they don't take any jokes, they I mean, now things get scary. Right. Now you see the defensive backs playing with some you see those guys playing differently. I mean, the defensive backs are playing some of the best football I've seen for USF in a very long time. You got the defensive line who's getting very active and getting after the quarterback. And all the defensive line have to do, they just got to stay in their gaps. So the linebackers, they can go and make the tackles they need to. And you know the defensive line is playing good when you see a guy like Jalen Schuler go up and put up 14 tackles.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because and these aren't tackles where he's chasing them down the field. These are tackles he's making at, 2 and 3 yard gains. That means the defensive line is doing a good job.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those from behind tackles with Greer and Dwayne Boyles, and they left it all out there. What about Coach Golish, man? Now that him and I have had a great relationship over the years, and he would just look at me and go, "Jay, there's no such thing as moral victories. There's no such thing as silver linings. If you really want to achieve what you want to achieve here in college football, we don't want to just come here to participate. We want to be a factor. We don't want to just be like, hey, we hung around." And that's what we've seen. I mean, we've seen that all 4 quarters with Boise. All 4 quarters with, against the Florida Gators. What have you seen as far as the growth in Coach Alex Golish and how he's been able to leave his impact on his team? And they've been emblematic of the kind of guy and kind of coach that he's been.
Yeah, I think he stepped in as a G, and he's been a G ever since. For a guy to come in and talk as confidently as he spoke and as calmly as he spoke, and for him to do everything he said he was going to do, those are the type of guys I respect. You know what I mean? He didn't come in and he didn't make any excuses. He said, we're going to win with what we got. We got a process, and as long as our guys buy the process, which we know we will because the process works, we'll be successful. And that's what we're seeing here. Now, granted, we got 10 games to go. Anything can happen.
Right.
But I knew Coach Golish was a guy when last year Byron Brown went down and this team didn't go to shit. You still saw this team go out and ball out and make a bowl game and still do something that was commendable. And that's when I really knew Coach Golish was a guy, because a lot of coaches are going to make excuses and say, hey, we don't have a quarterback. What can we do here? What can we do now? But he took a guy who nobody was high up on and got something done with him. And I love that. You know what I mean?
My guy, Bryce Archie, now throwing heaters on the baseball field for the Cincinnati Reds. My guy. Before I let you go, man, I want to ask you about just all the stuff outside of USF, man. Family Feud. And I know you've done a lot of great things with your business and, traveling all over the world and the Obamas and all these things. But even just in the last 12 months, man, I mean, could you imagine that you'd be able to do all this stuff? Football has really given you a platform to be able to do some great things, but you've taken it to the next level by the human being that you are. I always tell people, Sam Barrington, he's such a joy to listen to on the air. He has so much fun. I go, the guy's even better. He's an even better human being than just the radio guy that you hear. But man, your journey, man. I mean, it's cool to watch from afar. What is it like to be able to experience it firsthand?
Yeah, well, Jay, I appreciate it. I really do. I think when I was younger, I don't know where I heard it from, but a guy asked a guy in an interview, he was like, are you a humble person? And the guy said, yeah. And he said, no, you're not. And he was like, what do you mean? I am humble. And he was like, well, a humble person wouldn't claim that they're humble.
Right.
So, but when you're aware, you do a self-psychoanalysis, I can say that I exude character traits of someone who's humble, but it's more about awareness and it's where you want to end up in this life. So I think of the finish line. I think of where I'm trying to get going, and I'm not so caught up in the day-to-day experience. All I know is if this is where I'm headed, then my life is going to look a certain way because I'm always trying to achieve something. So on the outside, it might look like, man, this guy's always up to something, et cetera, et cetera. But it's become a very normal experience to me because of where I'm headed. And when I think about where I'm headed, that's been dictated by the goals my father has set, or by the type of person my mother is, or the type of person I want my kids to see that I am, or the person that my community needs from an impact standpoint, or what type of sibling can I be to my other siblings?
Right.
What type of person do these players need in terms of a role model? What type of person does USF need? And so you find yourself fitting all these identities, but it starts with waking up and trying your best, treating people how you want to be treated, and don't take no for an answer. I mean, I was a 7th round pick. You know what I mean? The Green Bay Packers had 11 picks that year. I was the 11th pick. You know what I mean? And my last 2 years at USF weren't pretty because we weren't a good team. And I said, you know what, if I just got a shot, I'm gonna do the best that I can with it. And so in any circumstance I'm in any environment I'm in, all I need is a shot, and I'm gonna go out and do something with it. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful life. And you know, I enjoy meeting people, I enjoy collaborating with people, and I enjoy helping people get to where, you know, God is trying to carry them. One of the best things that I can say about my experience today and some of the things that I'm having an opportunity to do. My company, Sky Limit Crane and Rigging, is assisting Manhattan Construction and building the stadium for USF.
Nice.
And I mean, that's just a dream come true, because the stadium was used as a recruiting tool when I was on my recruiting visit 16 years ago. So for us to be actively building that job, and it's not an easy job, but we're figuring it out. I mean, it's a dream come true. And my goal is to, you know, help other young men or men in general, you know, find and identify their dreams. So.
You know, I just said before you came on, the best thing about being in sports media isn't the players, the games, or the events. It's the people that we work with. And every time you and I see each other, we always smile. We always dap each other up. And, you know, you hear what your friends and your colleagues say sometimes, and it clicks. The one thing that my dad always told me: treat people how you want to be treated. And I'm sure that was the same message that you got, you know, growing up as well. He is the great Sam Barrington. Unbelievable job at USF, in the pros, and on the air with our guy Jim Lauk. 4:30 kickoff this weekend down there against the Miami Hurricanes. You can check them out on Q105 with Joey Johnston and Jim Lighthall, Derek Sharp, and the whole crew over there. Sam, always a pleasure, my brother. Enjoy the game this weekend, baby, and we'll talk again soon. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls, brother. Great to see you.
Thank you. Talk soon. All right, buddy. The great Sam Barrington. He's the man. Unbelievable. Just such a joy. We're in the middle of a conversation. You know what's funny with Sam? Sam is one of those people where him and I will be in conversations with other people, and we'll be like, hold on. He's on the phone. Like, he'll be on the phone, and then we'll see each other, and we'll be walking this way. He'll be walking this way. I'll be walking this way. He'll be on the phone, and it's just like, boom. We got to go say what up to each other. I was in the middle of like a deep conversation the other day, and I saw Sam, and I was like, hold on. They gave some love to Sam. It's just, when I worked with USF for all those years, man, there were some tough games, tough ones. And, you know, when you have times like that with people, you learn a lot about them, and you have a lot of conversations. And my years at USF, it was great. It was great. Oh man, some breaking news right here. Hold on, Pete Thamel. I see that. Hold on. Wow, Pete Thamel. This is some breaking news right here. Pete Thamel says USF is targeting Rob Higgins as the new CEO of athletics. There's strong mutual interest, and a deal is expected to be coming together in the upcoming days. A USF grad that has been the executive. Wow. Unbelievable. Would that be the right guy? Get our guy. That would be something. Thank you for the heads up on that one. Who was it? G. Conrad? Wow. We're going to get to our guy TJ Reeves in a second and get his opinion on this, because he knows Rob Higgins as well. But Pete Thamel, sources telling him that USF is targeting Rob Higgins as the school's new CEO of athletics. Again, there's strong mutual interest. A deal is expected to come together in the upcoming days. The USF grad, who has been the Tampa Bay Sports Commission executive director since 2004. USF was blunt in wanting to make a hire in line with the modernization and professionalization of college sports. Higgins emerged as a top candidate because he's well connected at both professional and collegiate levels. USF 2-0. We know that after upsetting Florida. Wow. I mean, you want somebody that's kind of inside and outside, right? Somebody that he's got the USF ties, obviously, but also you want to talk about somebody that's connected. It doesn't get more connected than Rob Higgins. He is everywhere. And I remember seeing Rob downstairs after the national championship game years ago. Alabama and Clemson were walking down in the annals or the tunnels there at Raymond James Stadium. It's like 3:30 in the morning. And I go, Rob, you need to get to sleep. He goes, Jay, I'm going to probably go to sleep for a week. I said, you've earned it, my friend. And again, Rob comes up to me and he's dealt with some health issues over the last couple of years. And we love Rob. We've had him on the show before. And Rob comes up to me this year at the sneaker soiree and he comes up and he gives me a big hug and he goes, you know why I love you? And I said, why? He goes, because you love Team Tampa Bay. That means a lot coming from the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. So if he is the right choice, you'll have my endorsement 100%. Just like this guy has my endorsement. It's the one and only TJ Reeves, Buck sideline guy. We're definitely talking some boxing, baby. It's finally here. I feel like it's been one of the most highly promoted fights, and it seemed like September was so far away. And now it's here. We'll get to Canelo and Crawford in a second.
Great to be with you. Thank you for the Hall of Fame segue, the kind words, as always. We'll get to the Buccaneers. Do you want me to share with you that I go way back, the way back with Rob Higgins?
Bring it.
So I am the former voice of the USF Bulls basketball for 10 years from 1997 to 07. When Rob Higgins began as a basketball ball boy in the 1990s. Wow. And eventually became a basketball manager for the basketball program under Bobby Pascal and eventually under Seth Greenberg. And you could not have said it better. Somebody that is USF through and through going back 30 years. Somebody that's been connected to every significant deal of a Super Bowl, a college football playoff national title game, a women's Final Four, an NHL All-Star game. That has all run through Rob Higgins, his offices, his staff, his people. So if they are looking to be innovative with the hire, that is not just a home run hire, baseball metaphor. That's a grand slam hire. I don't know. I don't have any intel on whether that is who it is and whether it's going to get done, but sign me up if that is who it is. And good on Higgy. I saw him at the Tampa Sports Club Hall of Fame induction with he and his son, and it scares me because he's now got grown kids, and his son looks so much like him and even talks like him. And I'm complimenting the son. I'm like, you look like and you're talking like your dad from 30 years ago. When I knew a fresh-faced Rob Higgins, making sure that the towels were washed and folded and the uniforms were clean and the whole bit. And the love for USF when he was making nada to do it was amazing. So that would be something else if that hire happens. So how about that to start the interview off?
Unbelievable, man. And I think of the person that he is, and you can speak on this too. And I want to tie the Bucks into this as well, TJ. I feel like the most successful times that we've had in the Tampa Bay sports world is when they were great men as leaders, right? The Leroy Selmans of the world. We see it right now with Todd Bowles and with John Cooper and Jeff Finnick and when Joe Madden was here, right? Like it's just good men, good fathers, good husbands. And Rob Higgins is that guy. He's bringing, like you said, all those events here, but it's WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and things like that, traveling across the world to almost kind of foresee what could happen here. And he surrounds himself. You know other people, the Claire Leshingers of the world and Tony Diaz's of the world and all the people, with the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. And you walk away from conversations with them and you're like, that's one of the best people I've ever met.
Exactly.
I mean, we see that here with the Bucks, right? Like you see with a guy like Todd Bowles and, for all the people that I think it's less and less people that are upset about the stoicism and the even keel. Well, he just screamed, in the locker room after a week one visit. And we see his personality talking about the offensive line change yesterday. I feel like the highs of the highs when it comes to Tampa Bay sports, really when it's led by fantastic men and women.
There is no doubt. Pardon me for being distracted for just a second, because I'm asking somebody that would know whether the Higgins thing is done. We are cutting edge right here live on Jay Recher's podcast, trying to find out what's going on. And this person's answer is, it is done, but I don't know who it's done with yet. And he's asking also. So again, let's see with Rob Higgins and all that. But you're right. I mean, just the overall point one more time of how you treat people, how you deal with people, being able to land things like the SEC basketball tournament and woo them here.
Right.
Being able to, as you mentioned, WrestleMania and what a big deal that is, and the Royal Rumble and what for the wrestling fans, a huge deal, but a huge deal for the economy in the Tampa Bay area for all these different events. Tremendous. And of course, they're going into the new stadium and the whole bit. So I am all about, I have been in this market now for 42 years of my life. 42. I'm becoming that old. You didn't realize I'm that old.
Don't be dating yourself there, TJ.
I was in the stands in John McKay's final years as a Buccaneer fan when they were wearing this color, and it was ugly. And at that time, you didn't have a hockey team. You didn't have a baseball team. You didn't have USF playing football. They were playing basketball. So it's just amazing what has happened, because when you got here, like the motto in the early 80s was America's next great city. That was everywhere. They played the Super Bowl, the January 1984 Super Bowl, and they were branding it everywhere nationwide, if not worldwide. America's next great city, Tampa, America's next great city. That was the branding when I got here 40 plus years ago. So there's a lot that has happened. If you had told me or anybody else in the early to mid 1980s, you're going to have not only an NFL team, but hockey and a very successful, amazingly run hockey franchise. You're going to have Major League Baseball, yes, but USF is going to become a football program and become a noteworthy football program within the first few years of its existence in the late 90s and the early 2000s under Jim Leavitt. All of that stuff happened, and now you see the events and the notoriety for this area that keep happening. So tremendous on that.
It's a beautiful thing. Take us through when you found out that the Buccaneers changed their offensive line. Wait, excuse me. Wait a second.
Wait, what?
What are we doing here, Graham Barton?
It's interesting in that role, and I'm getting another message here.
No, that's fine.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned on the announcement, because your report said it could be done in the coming couple of days. There's mutual interest now. Those things, there's two factors. The first thing is there could be another candidate. They could be talking to both. And another factor is there are other people involved in a state-run institution on making the decision.
Right.
And just because you're talking to someone and you're close, it doesn't mean it's done. It's done when it's done. Done means done.
Pen to paper. Right.
Just like in the other room in the palatial Reeves Palace here, when we're ready for dinner, it's done when it's done. When it's out of the oven and ready to go on the table. Stop asking about if it's not 10 more minutes or 30 more minutes. It's done when it's done. But anyway, back to the situation with the Buccaneers offensive line. You do an honest show. I'm an honest guy. I'm honest with everybody. I did not know. I'm telling you, I did not know. So much so that Gene Deckerhoff, I'll just pull the curtain back. Gene Deckerhoff's with me in the booth, and I'm getting ready to do a live segment in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium at about 12:25. About 35 minutes before the game. The inactives have been out for over an hour, and Gene is going to interview Jason Light live, the Bucs GM, right after that. And he says to me, I'm going to ask him about Graham Barton. They want me to ask him about Graham Barton because something has changed. And I look at Gene and I'm like, is he sick? Do we know if he's ill and can't play? Because typically if he is ill and he's not been on the injury list, you got to tell everybody. You got to say that to the Falcons and to the media and everybody else. And it was not that, as it turns out. And so Gene said, I don't know. We'll find out together. And sure enough, Jason Light came on Buccaneers radio, and that's the first time that you heard it confirmed. This is what we're going to do with the offensive line. And so I was fascinated to hear that. And I knew right away, and I said right away later in the pregame show, Graham Barton played left tackle the last 2 years at Duke.
Right.
So it's understandable that if they were working him for some extra snaps in practice and watching him at left tackle, it's not unheard of that he could play left tackle and play it well. Talent, feet, it's different. It's a different position.
Right.
This is highly unusual, though, that you would do something like that to begin with. And second of all, in this day and age where you find out everything immediately before people even know, that nobody knew. The media did not know. We did not know. And by the way, this is another important point. They're under no obligation to say this stuff. It's competitive strategy. And if they want to put a different offensive line out there or a different quarterback starts the game or whatever you want to do, that's coaching, that's strategy. They're under no obligation to tell the other team we've shuffled the active offensive lineman or put somebody else in. That's part of what makes the NFL and other pro sports fascinating, because you don't have to reveal everything. If it's a strategic thing, you absolutely don't have to reveal it. And it's pretty admirable now in looking back that they handled the crowd noise and handled everything going on with it. And the Buccaneer offense functioned pretty well, not as elite or dominating maybe as they could have been, but they functioned pretty well. And when the chips were down, got down the field and got the go-ahead touchdown with that different offensive line.
Yeah, they came through when they needed to come through. Baker Mayfield, of course, and the guy that he completed the touchdown pass to.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, and I said this, and you can really speak on this pretty well. When you compare somebody to Chris Godwin, you're not just comparing him to Chris Godwin because of what he does on the field, but also the way he handles his business off the field. Because we know if you compare somebody to Chris Godwin, if you're here in Tampa, he's this guy right here. He's that guy. Forget about that football player. He's that guy. And when you throw his name around to Emeka Egbuka, you know that is a heavy comparison. And I think it's true. It's spot on. And I feel like it becomes more and more true every day. I mean, TJ, being able to watch that kid in his first professional game do what he did, what was that like to be able to see with your own two eyes?
At field level, looks NFL ready in game number 1 out of that Ohio State wide receiving room that's got all those other receivers. Mm-hmm. So full credit to the development of those guys. And again, you can't get too far crazy and ahead of a game, but man, the potential that's there, the potential for a year from now or 3 years from now or 5 years from now on how good this guy could be is great. And you love the stats. Did you hear the stat about the game-winning touchdown catch by the rookie in the opening game? Did you hear this one?
No.
This is the first time since the AFL-NFL merger, which predates you and me, 1970, so 56th year post-merger. That's the dark ages. That's when the American Football League went away and the teams joined the NFL. 56 seasons, all the rookie receivers that have played by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on week 1 in the NFL, never has there been a rookie receiver catch the go-ahead game-winning touchdown in the final minute of the opening day game in a game that a team was losing. That's never happened before. So Egbuka is the first one, not Jerry Rice, not Steve Largent, not Art Monk, Terrell Owens, pick one, Marvin Harrison, any of these receivers, anywhere, the first one ever to catch the game-winning touchdown in his opening day rookie game, opening day of his rookie year, while trailing in the final minute of the game. Emeka Egbuka has that distinction now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Pretty crazy to watch all of that unfold. I got to say, from my vantage point, I saw Baker throw the dime. I saw Egbuka there in the end zone, and you're like, wow, that is what you drafted. I came back on the radio after the first touchdown on Buccaneers radio, and I began with, any questions now on drafting Emeka Egbuka in the opening round? I didn't think so, that he's right out there in game 1 making plays. So, again, you're excited for the potential of that guy.
What about a guy like Jacob Parrish? I mean, what you saw from him, I mean, and some of these other young guys getting an opportunity to go out there and do their thing. I thought Tyke Smith in year 2, moving to that safety spot, looked fantastic, tackling in open space. What did you see from field level? Maybe that's not catching as much national attention, but you got such a unique vantage point there.
Well, and in the case of both Parrish and Smith, they tackle. And Zion McCollum with a couple of hits and tackles as well in that secondary, sticking a nose in there, and you know Winfield will hit you. How underrated, let me boomerang it back to you. We'll come back to Parrish and the young guys. How underrated at the moment is the play that Antoine Winfield made in the final 20 seconds of the game?
Unbelievable.
Breaking up that pass. Because if that pass is complete inside the 10-yard line, they're going to run up and get the clock stopped. They had enough time to probably run a play and try to score a touchdown and not even mess with the field goal. That is a tremendous play. What do you say? I say not getting enough attention. Would you agree?
100%. And that is the thing that Antoine Winfield Jr. brings that few people in the entire NFL bring. They have the ability to have that clutch gene. It's a lot easier to have a clutch gene in baseball or in basketball because the clock winds down, the ball's in the hand of your best player. Go ahead and make a shot. We talk about it with LeBron and Kobe and Jordan over the years. In baseball, it's like, all right, who's the guy you want up in the ninth inning? But football is different because sometimes you're on offense, sometimes you're on defense.
Right.
When we talk about the clutch gene, it's more about the field goal quicker than everybody else because when you slow the game down, it's for those guys. Hockey's a little different, right? Because it's just so free flowing and guys are on and off all the time. But Antoine Winfield Jr., whether it's a couple of years ago in 2023, back when they won the Super Bowl, or even in that game, he could have 2 tackles or 10 tackles. But in the last couple of minutes of the game, that dude knows exactly what he needs to do to come up with big plays. If he plays like, that's why I was higher on the defense going into this year, TJ. Hassan Reddick, all the draft picks, I get it. But I just felt like if we had a progression to the mean of what Antoine Winfield Jr. has shown us, this defense is just going to be exponentially better, regardless of how much it is. And that's why I was so high and so bullish on the team going forward. He's unbelievable, that guy.
Great ball skills, instinctive on getting. I mean, he made a couple of plays in the game in the Superdome 2 years ago. So this is 2 years ago that I still to this day, and I'm going to talk about it right here on the program. He makes one play where in the open field, they're trying to get the ball to Alvin Kamara, and he's the free hitter, and he closes on Kamara and drills Kamara in the backfield and makes the play. And then later in the same game, Derek Carr's got a bomb to Chris Olave. And I don't know if you remember, Winfield ran 20 yards on the dead sprint to leap and stick his hand in the middle and knock the ball away. And I stood there almost for a second or two and went, holy crap, that's an NFL play from that guy. There are not a lot of players in the NFL that are skilled enough to go stick their nose in the backfield and hit a back or sack a quarterback, and then on the dead sprint, go make a recovery play at deep safety to break up what could have been a go-ahead touchdown. He's a special player. They need that guy healthy. Now, back to what you asked me about the younger players, Tyke Smith will knock your block off.
Yeah.
He's not the biggest guy, but he ignites people when he hits them. And Parrish has got a little of that in him too. Again, he's a rookie. It's his first game. To get him out there, you mix that in with Zion McCollum, the veteran Jamel Dean. You hope to get Christian Izien back. So you got some different guys, some different pieces in that secondary, and you're probably going to need all of them to be contributors over the course of 17 games, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I just love this team all the way around. And, Chase McLaughlin with a rare off game, I think he'll be able to kind of figure it out, But now going forward, TJ, to week 2, you're playing a Houston team coming off of a loss. But again, we kind of go back to the O-line. We know what they offer when it comes to Danielle Hunter on one side, Will Anderson on the other side. What's your kind of main point of focus for this Buccaneers team going into week 2 against the Houstons? It's a primetime affair.
Yeah, and you get dealt a bad situation here with back-to-back road games. The second one's on Monday night, so those are not easy. Houston angry off of their loss. One thing that was impressive from what the Rams did, the Rams just totally neutralized any running game that Houston might have had. And so that's make them one-dimensional. We obviously know, and it's going to get played up as the week goes on, that C.J. Stroud can kill you, and he killed the Buccaneers 2 years ago. I still have that in my nightmare of what he did. There was a game where the Bucs, don't forget, in that game, Mayfield got you in the lead in the final minute, the same way as Sunday in Atlanta.
Was that a K-Dot?
I believe that was K-Dot, yes. And, the sideline guys standing down there going, okay, here we go. Happy post-game show. We're good. We're going to get some good interviews. And then C.J. Stroud was just amazing in the final minute if you leave time on the clock. So, obviously, they have weapons. Nico Collins is one. They've got a couple of others that can play. That's going to be a roaring environment with them off of a loss. There's big playoff expectations and aspirations. So this is not going to be an easy task to go in there and win. Do they keep the makeshift different offensive line? Stay tuned as the week develops. Don't anticipate that they're going to tell you what they're going to do, because I don't think they are going to tell you what they're going to do. If you have a critique, let's call it a critique, you need to run the ball better. You did not run it as well as you have been running it and as well as you want to run it. That's not going to be easy, as you mentioned, against Will Anderson and that defense, but that will help you with the crowd, et cetera. If you can sustain run games, sustain drives, move the chains, take time off the clock, Let's see if the Bucks can run it a little better as an improvement in Houston. It will not be easy.
All right. Let's get into it.
You're ready.
I've been waiting for this for so long.
I know.
As a kid that grew up watching boxing, like I'm a huge MMA guy now. I still love boxing, but boxing like very early on, my mom and dad and their friends, like they were big boxing. They'd get together for the big boxing fights. And just as a kid, you rent the videos at Blockbuster. We had Pine Hollow Video and just YouTube videos of just the unbelievable Hagler, Hearns, Duran, just all those different guys, and then even
Mike
the heavyweights.
Tyson,
Even just looking at the heavyweights and just everything with Buster Douglas, and then as we get, we get past the Tyson, the Holyfield, and Lennox Lewis, and seeing what the Klitschko's were able to do, and all the way
Oscar
with the Tyson
De La
Fury,
Hoya,
Oscar and Floyd
Mayweather,
and I was a big Pernell Whitaker fan, growing up, and Winky Wright, obviously with the ties down here, and now in my mind, the best fight that you could make between the two greatest fighters in the game. I mean, these are two first ballot Hall of Famers. These are two guys where it's just, you look at just kind of from the basis and go, damn, Bud's going up in weight. Canelo's a much bigger guy, you would think, but Bud is so damn crafty, and he really is. And you just wonder, you think sometimes going into a fight how it's going to turn out, but I thought I had a better idea of what him and Errol Spence was going to look like, and then I was like, man, that wasn't even close.
Yeah, he destroyed
what I was
Errol
I thought that was going to be
there.
such a competitive fight. I'm like, man, I'm so excited to watch this, and it was just like you felt bad for Errol as the fight went on.
You love artifacts. I was out there.
Man.
That is the only time in my life that I have gotten to be part of a world championship fight in Las Vegas.
Great.
And I even have the artifact right there from Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford demolishing him because they gave us little notebooks as a promotional thing. And the Crawford of that night could absolutely deal with anybody, I think, in the middleweight, welterweight type range. All right, so what we're talking about for those that are not ultra familiar, Terrence Crawford has been an undisputed champion at junior welterweight 140 and at welterweight 147. That's the night of this fight in July of 2023 is when he destroyed Errol Spence and became undisputed at welterweight. He has since moved up and fought only one time since then in 2 years as a junior middleweight, fought a nondescript guy that you wouldn't know. Meanwhile, you've got Canelo, who began as a welterweight as well, moved up to junior middleweight and almost immediately to middleweight. All right. The difference here is Canelo has been a middleweight or a super middleweight, 168 pounds, for the better part of a decade or so. So now Crawford's essentially got to come up 3 levels, Jay, from his sweet spot at 147 pounds. I think the last time I was 147 pounds, I might have been in middle school. But in any event, Mrs. Reeves with too much dessert for the sideline guy.
Too many donuts on the weekends
with
for
the
you and the
twins on
girls.
Saturday. That's exactly right. But the bigger guy seems to have the advantage. Now, Canelo is older just by a little bit. Crawford is obviously ultra talented, but I'm not so sure he hasn't bitten off more than he can chew. Obviously, if he wins this fight, it is all-time stuff. It is a third different division where he will have been an undisputed champion, and never in men's professional boxing in the 4-belt era of world titles where there'll be a 4-belt undisputed third different division champ, which is what Crawford intends to be. But I go back to you. I think the difference in weight does matter, and it is the factor in this fight. Do you agree with that amongst all the other factors?
It's hard for me. So I know it's a different sport, right? So I used that same rationale recently in the UFC middleweight championship fight between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, where I'm like, Dricus is a middleweight. He cuts to middleweight. He's a guy walking around over 200 pounds, where Khamzat came from 170 to go to 185. I thought that was going to be a big deal. It had nothing to do with the fight.
All right.
And I'm just like, but that's the beautiful thing. That's why they go out there and fight. I can't go away from that rationale just because it didn't happen that one time. I just think Canelo is just that much. He's skilled as well as being bigger. But I look at it like this. Where's Terrence Bud Crawford if he wins this fight all time? Like
he has to go. Hey,
he's a top 3 fighter of all time.
I don't know. He may be. He has to go in the conversation top 10 all time. And certainly when you're bringing up Sugar Ray Leonard, who out of the 4 kings that we're talking about with Duran, Thomas Hitman Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Leonard got the upper hand. He beat all of them. He beat all three of them. If you're going to talk Floyd Mayweather beat them all, including Manny Pacquiao, including Oscar De La Hoya, and ruled the roost. But Leonard and Floyd did not go undisputed in a four-belt era in three different weight classes. So strong argument to be made.
It's almost like the Scotty Bowman thing when people ask, like, who's the best coach of all time? And you're going to give me the John Woodens, and you're going to give me the Don Shulas, and you're going to give me all this stuff. But I look at it and I go, well, how do you not go Scotty Bowman? Scotty won with the Canadians, then he won with the Penguins, then he won with the Red Wings. I mean, you're looking at guys that have success, but if you can prove that your recipe for success works with different ingredients, I think that's what gives you a notch above.
Championship level. At the championship level. Like the Stanley Cup level.
Multiple championships, not just one, multiple with those guys. So that's where I'm like, Scotty Bowman to me is the bee's knees. And if you look at Bud, I mean, you hate to be recency bias, and I loved all those other guys, and especially Floyd being undefeated. But I mean, if Bud beats Canelo going up, and then you have that resume, it's tough to argue, man. It's I think he climbs. It might be one of those things, TJ, where his legacy gets bigger as the years go by. Because that's what happens sometimes in sports. When you get farther away from fighters, you get farther away from teams, you go, man, nobody else has done that in 20 years. Maybe that guy's actually better than we thought. I think in the years that go by, if he wins this fight, the age will be, I think, kinder to Bud Crawford.
Great points that you are making, and we can't overstate here. Probably going back to the third Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight in October of 2021, which was a phenomenal fight, and Fury once again dispatched Deontay Wilder once and for all and retained his version of the heavyweight title, the British fighter. That was a tremendous fight.
Right.
You move forward 4 years. This is by far the biggest fight in this country, biggest boxing match pay-per-view since that fight. And this just into the newsroom, it's probably the biggest fight for the next 2 or 3 years, or 3 or 4 years. I don't know of another bigger one that's on the horizon. This is, I know it's a college football Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, but this is a big deal. If you enjoy the sweet science, the fisticuffs of boxing, the lore that we've been talking about of names like Sugar Ray Leonard or Tyson or Ali or De La Hoya or Hagler, this is out of that cloth in the modern era, and they're going to have it at Allegiant Stadium. I don't know if you brought this up, the Raiders Stadium, where they've never had a professional fight inside of that facility that's now about 5 years old. They're expecting over 65,000 on hand, typically boxing in like a basketball or hockey type arena setting with 18, 20,000. Usually they fight in the T-Mobile Arena where the Las Vegas Golden Knights play hockey. That's an 18,000 seat facility. I've been in there for that championship fight with Crawford. They've had numerous other ones. That's where the Fury Wilder third fight was, in the T-Mobile Arena. For that night, Canelo's fought there over and over again. This is in the big Raiders Stadium. Get ready for the whole bit. I will go back to that night with Errol Spence. And sometimes boxing is different. The walkout music and all of that started with boxing. Professional wrestling then kind of played off of it. But the whole walkout music thing for a batter coming up to the batter's box or whatever in baseball, that started with boxing. Canelo, it's the mariachi band. They strike up the mariachi band like out of the blue, and everybody goes crazy for his fans. But when Terrence Crawford came out of the locker room with Eminem that night in Las Vegas against Errol Spence, and they started blaring the Lose Yourself theme from the 8 Mile movie, I looked at two of the media people around me and went, this is going to be over. I mean, he is hyped up on the ring walk and the look on his face. So we'll see. Boxing is just different. This will be different. I hope we don't get a boring fight. That is my hope. I have no allegiance to either side on who wins. I just want this to be action-packed and memorable. I don't want us at long about 1 a.m. Eastern time after it's over going, why did we care so much to build this up? Because it was a dud of a fight. Let's see if they mix it up. What happens if Canelo hits Crawford with the big shot that's rarely happened? Can Crawford punch hard enough to hurt the legend, the future Hall of Famer, who's a good 2 weight classes, if not 3 weight classes up from him? Can he hit him hard enough to hurt him? We're about to find out, brother. Saturday night.
It's a beautiful thing. TJ Reeves at Buck Sideline Guy. He does it all, man. 3 Dog Thursday, Bet USTV, Compass Media Net, Big Fight Weekend. He is all over it. And he's a great guy, too, and a great dad.
If
and a
you
great
want
husband.
more on the Crawford Canelo coverage, Big Fight Weekend podcast, Big
Check it
Fight
out.
Weekend YouTube page. Check it out. We're going to be talking all about it late in the weekend on Saturday. We love the football. We love the NFL, but let's give a little love to the sweet science. I love you for that, my friend. You have me back whenever you need me. All
You're
right,
the man, TJ. Appreciate you, buddy. Talk soon.
Always good to be with you.
My man, TJ Reeves. Doesn't get better than that, man. It was such a great, it was like perfect, symbolic, like with the foot. I was like, because I wanted to have him on that weekend, right? Like I wanted to have him the week of the fight. And then it was just like, oh, yesterday he texted me and about the Bucks. And then I was like, oh, perfect. All right, here we go. Breaking news. Brett McMurphy just put this out. USF has hired new CEO of athletics, athletic director, Tampa Bay Sports Commission, executive director, Rob Higgins. Sources tell On3 Sports, a USF graduate and Tampa native. Higgins has been with the Sports Commission since 2004. He has brought dozens of national events to Tampa Bay, including multiple Super Bowls and college football playoff title games. Rob is a tireless fundraiser and revenue generator. He has strong local and national relationships across both college and pro sports that will benefit USF tremendously. A source said he was targeted for the job the last 2 times it was open. The Bulls finally got their guy. He's the man. He is the man. He's the man. And we're just so happy for him. Like, he's just a really good dude and the right guy for the job. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, man. Man, a lot of people are all over this video. A lot of people are all over this video with this young lady. You know, again, and our guy, there you go. Yeah. All right. So let's get into, before we wrap things up, my 10 big takeaways from the NFL season, from the NFL week 1, my top 10 standouts, right? So, and we'll go. So, all right, my top 10 standouts from week 1 of the NFL season. It's not always good. It's not always bad. Players, coaches, teams, it's whatever. And it's not the best. It's the ones that stood out to me. Number 1, Emeka Egbuka. Bucks wide receiver, 4 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. To be able to watch what he was doing out there, he just didn't look overwhelmed whatsoever. This guy is just he's a freak, and he's so far and wise beyond his years. The Buccaneers, an absolute grand slam with that selection in the round 1 of the 2025 NFL draft. Number 2, Kevin O'Connell. I am as big a fan of Kevin O'Connell that a non-Vikings fan could be. I just love this guy. He's one of the best play callers and coaches in the game. What he was able to do with Kirk Cousins, then Sam Darnold, and now J.J. McCarthy. Look at how they look down the stretch. It's a work in progress. It's the first time this guy's played in forever. He goes on the road. He struggles a little bit against the Chicago defense that was hyped up, that has some good players on it. But, man, he was flowing down the stretch. And when you watch that Netflix documentary, the quarterback documentary with Kirk Cousins, as much as you learned about Kirk, you learned a lot about KOC too, and the type of guy he is and the way he spoke to people. And you listen to our interview today with Sam Barrington and treat people the way you want to be treated and things like that. And we mentioned that with TJ Reeves as well. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, the way he spoke, the way he was calm amongst the storm, the way he was passionate, with his team. Like, I'm a big, big fan of Kevin O'Connell. They won 14 games last year and didn't win the division. I mean, we forget about that. And when I look at the combinations between offensive play caller and defensive play caller, there's not many better than Kevin O'Connell on the offensive side and Brian Flores on the defensive side for the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers. 22 of 30 for 244 and 4 touchdowns. He led the Steelers to a comeback on the road. Hate him or love him, he still has that in him. And I mean, a lot of eyes were on him, and if he would have sucked, people would have been praying on his downfield fall and celebrating the struggles that he had. He's definitely a different cat, but he's polarizing, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best guys to ever spin a football, and if he can do that, who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe with an environment with Mike Tomlin where it's a lot more stable than what he had with the Jets, maybe with a guy like DK Metcalf, maybe with the defense that they have. You never know. You never know. That's the great thing about football is you got to go out there and play the game. Number 4, Micah Parsons. A 27-13 win for Green Bay over Detroit, but it just looked different. He only had 1 sack, but the bravado and the excitement, that's something that's just unquantifiable. There's something about elite athletes in sports where, especially when they're in the middle of their career and they still have juice left, when they go to a new team, there's just and we spoke about it, and it doesn't always have to be elite players. Maybe it does in this case, but it was the Patrick Maroon effect in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Remember how John Cooper would say that players sat a little bit taller on the bench when Pat Maroon was there? There's certain players that have that effect on teams, whether they're the best player, whether they're the biggest leader. There's just something about it where your chest is a little more puffed out. You're a lot more confident to do things that may be uncomfortable. Micah Parsons, I saw that with Green Bay in week 1. Now, listen, the only way you do that is if you're on the field. He's going to have to be out there, but he made an impact even though he only had that 1 sack. Number 5, Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills. I was wondering going into the season, is it enough? Is it enough when it comes to the wideout? Will the guys like Shakir, will Coleman, will Kincaid and Knox be enough as far as the weapons on the outside for Josh Allen? 8 catches for 112 yards and the touchdown. I mean, can he be that guy? Because if Keon Coleman, and we know he's got all the talent in the world, but we saw some issues last year, some struggles, some inconsistency. If he can be that guy that we saw at Florida State for Josh Allen, you're looking at a guy that may be 1,200 yard guy. You might be looking at a Pro Bowl season for Keon Coleman because he's going to have an opportunity to put up some big numbers with Josh Allen as the guy that's throwing him the rock. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. Now, I know Puka Nacua had 10 catches for $130 on 11 targets, but it's his leadership that stands out to me with Matthew Stafford. And when you talk about the best teams in the National Football League, and I like that there was the teams out there or the pundits out there that were showing love to Matthew Stafford and the Rams because the Super Bowl champion head coach in Sean McVay, you know how good he is at calling plays. There's just something about there with Stafford dating back to his Detroit days where he does whatever it takes to win. You want to talk about guys that throw from different arm angles, guys that are willing to, duck the shoulder down, run over a guy for a first down, not all the time. But I remember Aaron Rodgers showing him some love years ago and about how he was his favorite quarterback to watch. But you look at Matthew Stafford, and I know he's got back issues. He's not getting any younger, but you see like a little Mahomes in his game. You see a little Baker Mayfield in his game. You see a little Aaron Rodgers in his game. Like there's just a little bit of everything. And I think he's probably one of the more underrated players of this generation. But the guy just goes out there and plays winning football, and it's a joy. And it's funny because he grew up with Clayton Kershaw, and he's another one of those guys that I put in that group. I can't turn away when they're on because they have so much fun playing the game that they love. Number 7, this guy just got cut. Jake Moody. These all aren't going to be standouts in a good way. 1 of 3 on field goals, former 3rd round pick. Don't draft a kicker high, man. It's like don't draft Nico Grammatica. Sign him after he goes through the draft. That's what I'm going to tell him. Decline any of the it's just crazy. And they still won the game, but they gave him every single opportunity to go out there and do the job. But his time in San Francisco is done. They're looking for a new kicker. Number 8, Michael Penix Jr. Tough to cheer for him, tough to cheer against him. 27 of 42 for 298 and a touchdown, a rushing touchdown. He's the guy that if he's your quarterback, you appreciate him leaving it. Again, a little bit of Matthew Stafford in him, right? Doing whatever it takes to win. I love just this kid, that this kid is from our area. I know people are like, oh, he didn't grow up a Bucs fan. It is what it is. It helps him there in Atlanta, right? But just Michael Penix Jr., he's a winning football player. And listen, he was right in there. He was right in there, and they took it down to the bitter end against the Buccaneers. And even though the Bucs are probably a better team on paper, and people think that he's going to be a guy, or that's going to be a team that's going to win the division, no doubt. Michael Penix Jr., they are going to keep them in the hunt. Number 9, CeeDee Lamb. The line looks good. 7 catches for 110 yards, but the drops in the key moments are absolute killers. And again, this is what sets him apart from the Justin Jeffersons of the world, sets them apart from the Jamar Chases of the world. And, that's what losing teams do. They don't make the plays. And he's going to finish, if he stays healthy, with probably one of the better, stat lines that we're going to see. But when you're a team that people are wondering, like, where are you at? And you have Dak Prescott, and you got to make some of those highlight reel catches. You got to make the catches right in the bread basket, because it's going to come down to get you. And unfortunately for him, again, the drops in the key moments, absolute killers. And then number 10 on my list, who stood out the most, Devin White. Yep, that Devin White. Led the Raiders in tackles with 11 in their 20-13 win over the Patriots, a Super Bowl champion. Don't forget, playing there with Pete Carroll, helping Geno Smith, helping Spytek, helping Tom Brady. I thought that was pretty cool, man. Listen, as much as we don't like how the tenure ended with the Buccaneers, a precipitous fall off the cliff. I mean, as far as my interactions went with Devin White, he was always a nice guy to me. Wasn't a bad dude at all. I mean, again, you may not like some of the things that he said and how it ended, but he wasn't a bad dude. So good for him. Good for Devin White, leading the way, 11 tackles, a 20-13 win for the Raiders over the Patriots. Look at Argy Pugh, Bartow, Florida, checking in. What a show. I mean, listen, guys, gals, this has been a strong start to the week. It really has. Yesterday's show was strong. It was a victory Monday with our Bucks, with our Bulls. Ian Beckles joining on the program. TJ Reeves and Sam Barrington today. What a strong start to the week here on the Jay Recher podcast. A big congratulations to our guy, Rob Higgins, who looks like he's going to be the next CEO of athletics over there at USF. An unbelievable person. I can't say enough nice things about him. So congratulations, Rob. We'll try to get him. I know he's probably going to be a busy guy, but we'll try to get him on the podcast. If not this week, certainly next week. TJ Reeves always brings the heat. Just doing an unbelievable job. And then, of course, Sam Barrington. Very emotional conversation with him about USF. Greg, you have the best followers in the world. You are a global star. Thank you, buddy. You are the best, and you are certainly one of them. And I can't thank him enough. Our guy, Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC, all the residential and commercial needs. Scan that QR code. Hit him up. Again, Hammer is one of those guys that, we talk about. And I hope you guys can kind of understand and listen to and recognize the common threads among people that are successful and the common threads among people that are here on the show. I'm not a guy that's going to, and again, if you saw me on social media yesterday, retweet something from WDAE talking about Alex Golish and going somewhere else. Like, I don't, there's a tact to what I do here. I'm not going to talk about certain things if it's not the right time and place. I'm never going to be a slave of what other people may think is big news. I'm going to use my judgment, and there's certain times to talk about certain things, and there's other times to talk about them. I'm not talking about Alex Golish going somewhere else after one of the biggest wins in USF school history. I'm just not going to do that. Not. That doesn't mean that other people aren't going to do it. I still have all my friends over there. Hey, you tip your hat. If that's the way you want to go about your business, fine. That's fine. There's no right way to do it. Like, everybody goes about things in a certain way. Me and how I'm going to go about my business, I'm not going to do things like that. Fine. It's my prerogative. It's their prerogative to do it and to talk about it. It's my prerogative not to talk about it and focus on other things. My choice, instead of dealing with this or talking about a situation like that, is to go deeper into the conversation. Why did this work for USF? Highlight some of the good things about the players. What can they do to be good against a team like Miami next week? And we touch on all that stuff. Time and place. There's plenty of time to talk about that stuff down the road. What happens with Alex Golish in his future. Right now, live for today. Talk about what happened over the weekend. Enjoy the now, as our guy Greg DeCruz does. That's what our pal Honest Hammer does all the time. Custom Builders LLC. 813-244-0956. The Honest Hammer at gmail.com. TheHonestHammer.com. Again, give him a shout. Tell him that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Get yourself a discount. Kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, new home builds. They are all over it. All right, a big thank you to TJ Reeves, a big thank you to Sam Barrington, and a big thank you to you for chiming in today. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Let's keep these good vibes going. All right, that'll do it for me today. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I am gone. Peace out.